What I'm about to reveal will disturb the very foundations of how you understand your gift, your relationships, and your place in the world. This is not merely psychological theory. It is a warning that emerges from the deepest chambers of human consciousness, where shadow meets light and the unconscious reveals its most guarded secrets. There exists a phenomenon that I've observed throughout decades of analytical work, something so subtle yet so devastating that most empaths live their entire lives unaware of its operation. Your luminous sensitivity, that radiant capacity to feel and heal, is being harvested. Not metaphorically, but literally. Your psychic energy is being consumed by others in ways that bypass your conscious awareness entirely. This is the secret feeding that occurs in the invisible realm between souls. You feel it as that peculiar emptiness after certain encounters, that strange fatigue that sleep cannot cure, that sense that something vital has been taken from you, though nothing tangible was exchanged. These are not symptoms of your oversensitivity. They are evidence of energetic predation, operating through mechanisms older than civilization itself. Let me speak directly to your unconscious through the language it understands, symbols and dreams. You have perhaps dreamed of being in a garden where beautiful flowers grow from your heart, but as you sleep, invisible hands pluck them one by one until morning finds you barren. Or you have envisioned yourself as a lighthouse whose beam grows dimmer each night, though you cannot see what draws away your light. These dreams are not metaphors. They are your psyche's attempt to show you what your waking mind refuses to acknowledge. The archetypal pattern at work here is ancient and precise. You embody what I call the eternal provider, one whose very being serves as nourishment for others' spiritual and emotional hunger. But unlike the mythical figures who chose their sacrifice consciously, you have been unconsciously programmed to offer yourself as sustenance, believing this to be love, service, or spiritual duty. Your radiance operates on frequencies that those who have disconnected from their own inner light can perceive and absorb. To them, you are not a person, but a resource, a wellspring of the vitality they cannot generate within themselves. They approach you with practiced unconsciousness, drawing from your reserves while offering nothing but the illusion of connection in return. This harvesting occurs through what I call emotional osmosis, a process by which your natural empathic boundaries become permeable to the point of dissolution. You have been conditioned to believe that feeling others' pain is noble, that carrying their burdens is compassionate, that merging with their emotional states is evidence of your spiritual development. But this conditioning serves not your evolution, but their consumption. The most insidious aspect of this dynamic is that it often masquerades as meaningful relationship. Those who feed upon your energy become skilled at creating the appearance of intimacy while extracting your essence. They learn to mirror your depth, to echo your insights, to reflect your own light back to you in ways that make you believe you have found true connection. But examine these relationships closely. Do they nourish you or merely flatter you? Do they contribute to your growth or simply acknowledge your giving? Your childhood likely provided the perfect training ground for this pattern. Perhaps you learned that love meant absorbing others' pain, that safety required constant attunement to the emotional climate around you, that your worth was measured by your ability to heal what was broken in your family system. That sensitive child who became the family's emotional regulator, who learned to anticipate needs and prevent crises, laid the foundation for a lifetime of unconscious energy exchange. The psychological mechanism behind this consumption operates through what Jung called participation mystique, a state where the boundaries between self and other become so blurred that you literally become infected with others' psychic content. What feels like empathy is actually a form of possession, where foreign emotions, thoughts, and even physical sensations enter your system and are experienced as your own. This is why you may find yourself suddenly depressed after visiting certain people, inexplicably anxious after phone conversations, or physically drained after social gatherings. You are not becoming aware of your own hidden emotions. You are processing the undigested psychological material of others who lack the capacity or willingness to metabolize their own experience. The feeding occurs most intensely through what I term crisis magnetism. Those who consume empathic energy become unconsciously skilled at creating or amplifying crises that require your intervention. They develop an intuitive sense of when your boundaries are weakest, when your compassion is most available, when your own needs are most neglected. In these moments they strike, not with conscious malice, but with the unconscious hunger of those who have forgotten how to nourish themselves. Your dreams during periods of intense consumption often feature imagery of being underwater, struggling to breathe, or swimming in thick, dark substances that cling to your body. These are your psyche's attempts to illustrate the suffocating nature of emotional enmeshment, the way foreign energies adhere to your auric field and contaminate your natural radiance. The most tragic aspect of this dynamic is that your shadow, the disowned parts of your psyche, often collaborates in the feeding. The part of you that fears abandonment agrees to the consumption because it provides the illusion of being needed. The part that struggles with worthlessness offers your energy freely because it cannot conceive of any other form of value. And the part that carries ancestral trauma of rejection maintains the feeding relationship because familiar dysfunction feels safer than unknown health. The shadow complicity operates below the threshold of consciousness, creating unconscious contracts that bind you to relationships characterized by energetic imbalance. You find yourself saying yes when your body screams no, offering help when you desperately need rest, providing emotional labor when your own heart aches for attention. These are not conscious choices, but compulsions arising from the wounded aspects of your psyche that mistake depletion for devotion. The consumers of empathic energy are not necessarily malicious individuals. Most are simply unconscious. They have lost contact with their own inner light through trauma, conditioning, or spiritual laziness, and they instinctively seek external sources to fill the void. Like spiritual addicts, they develop a tolerance that requires ever-increasing amounts of your energy to achieve the same sense of fullness, leading to escalating demands on your resources. Your nervous system, evolved to detect subtle energetic fluctuations, picks up on this unconscious hunger and responds automatically. You feel their emptiness as a call to action, their darkness as a challenge to illuminate, their brokenness as an invitation to heal. But this response, while natural, is being exploited by those who have learned to broadcast their neediness in frequencies that trigger your compulsive giving. The physical symptoms you experience, chronic fatigue, autoimmune disorders, digestive issues, headaches, sleep disturbances, are often manifestations of this energetic drainage. Your body is attempting to communicate, but your mind refuses to acknowledge that you are operating at an unsustainable deficit, pouring out more energy than you take in, giving more light than you can generate. Dreams of being chased often represent your soul's attempt to escape these consuming relationships. The pursuers in your dreams are not external threats, but internal patterns that keep you bound to dynamics of depletion. They chase you because you're trying to run from your own programmed responses, your own unconscious agreements to serve as an energetic food source. The most sophisticated form of consumption occurs through what I call psychic mirroring. The consumer learns to reflect your own depth and wisdom back to you, creating the illusion that they possess these qualities naturally. They become echo chambers for your insights, empty vessels that temporarily hold your light and present it as their own illumination. This creates a false sense of mutuality that masks the underlying extraction. Your gift of empathy, when unprotected, becomes a beacon that attracts not only those seeking healing, but those seeking to avoid the work of healing themselves. They are drawn to your light not because they wish to kindle their own flame, but because they have learned to live in the warmth of others' fires. Your radiance becomes their substitute for the inner work they refuse to undertake. The collective unconscious contains archetypal patterns of the light bearer and the shadow dweller, and these patterns are being enacted through your relationships. You embody the light bearer, one who carries illumination for others, while attracting those who embody the shadow dweller, those who have surrendered their own connection to the light and seek to borrow yours indefinitely. This dynamic is reinforced by cultural conditioning that romanticizes self-sacrifice and demonizes self-preservation. You have been taught that boundaries are selfish, that protecting your energy is unkind, that saying no to others' needs is evidence of spiritual failure. This conditioning creates fertile ground for consumption because it removes the natural defenses that would otherwise protect your psychic resources. The feeding intensifies during your periods of greatest vulnerability, when you are grieving, stressed, or undergoing significant life transitions. It is during these times that your natural boundaries are weakest, your discernment compromised, your need for genuine support most acute. But instead of receiving nourishment, you often find yourself providing it, as consumers unconsciously exploit your openness to drain what little energy you have left. Your dreams may feature imagery of vampires, leeches, or other creatures that feed on life force. These are not random fears, but accurate, symbolic representations of the energetic dynamics in your waking life. The unconscious, with its perfect honesty, shows you the true nature of relationships that appear beneficial on the surface, but are extractive at their core. The consumption pattern becomes particularly destructive because it prevents you from developing healthy relationships with truly nourishing people. Those who could offer genuine reciprocity often cannot compete with the intensity of need displayed by consumers. The drama, urgency, and emotional extremes of consuming relationships create a kind of addiction that makes balanced, peaceful connections seem boring or inadequate. Your empathic gift, when properly understood, is meant to be a tool of conscious service, not unconscious sacrifice. It should operate through choice rather than compulsion, through discernment rather than automatic response, through wisdom rather than reactive compassion. But these consuming relationships corrupt your gift, turning it into a mechanism of self-abandonment rather than conscious offering. The most insidious form of consumption occurs in relationships where you are praised for your empathy while being systematically drained by it. The consumer learns to offer just enough validation of your gifts to keep you engaged, while ensuring that your attention remains focused on their needs rather than your own development. They become connoisseurs of your light, able to appreciate its quality while consuming its substance. Dreams of being trapped in rooms with no exits, or of being held underwater while others breathe freely, reflect the suffocating nature of these consuming dynamics. Your soul knows it is being constrained, diminished, used as a resource rather than honored as a being. These dreams are urgent messages from your unconscious, attempting to wake you from the trance of unconscious giving. The healing of this pattern requires what I call energetic sovereignty, the reclamation of your right to exist as more than a source of nourishment for others. This begins with the recognition that your empathy is not a public resource, but a sacred gift that requires conscious stewardship. You must learn to distinguish between authentic calls for help and manipulative demands for energy. Your body contains innate wisdom about energetic boundaries, but years of override have taught you to ignore its signals. The tightness in your chest when certain people approach, the sudden fatigue in specific environments, the inexplicable anxiety around particular individuals. These are not character flaws, but accurate, energetic readings that you must learn to trust and act upon. The withdrawal from consuming relationships will trigger intense resistance from those who have grown dependent on your energy. They will employ guilt, manipulation, crisis creation, and emotional blackmail to maintain their access to your resources. They may accuse you of selfishness, coldness, or betrayal. These reactions confirm that the relationship was based on consumption rather than genuine care. Dreams during the withdrawal process often feature imagery of breaking free from spider webs, escaping from underground tunnels, or removing parasites from your body. These symbols represent the liberation of your energy from the entanglements that have bound you to others' consumption. Your psyche celebrates each act of reclamation as a victory for your authentic self. The most challenging aspect of establishing energetic boundaries is learning to tolerate others' disappointment without automatically moving to soothe it. Your programming to be the emotional regulator makes it almost unbearable to witness others' distress without intervention. But their discomfort at your boundaries is not your responsibility. It is information about the nature of your previous relationship dynamic. As you reclaim your energy, you may experience what I call empathic withdrawal, a period of numbness or disconnection, as your nervous system adjusts to operating within healthy limits. This is not a loss of your gift, but a recalibration of its function. Your empathy is learning to serve your conscious choices rather than your unconscious compulsions. The practice of energetic protection requires more than visualization or intention. It demands fundamental changes in how you relate to others' emotions. Instead of automatically absorbing what others feel, you must learn to witness their experience while maintaining your own center. This shift from absorption to observation transforms empathy from a vulnerability into a strength. Your dreams begin to change as you establish healthier boundaries. Instead of being pursued or consumed, you may dream of standing in protective light, of building strong walls around beautiful gardens, or of being surrounded by beneficial guardians. These images reflect the psyche's restoration of natural, protective mechanisms that were overridden by conditioning. The consumers in your life will eventually seek new sources of energy as you become unavailable for unconscious exchange. This natural selection process clears space for relationships based on genuine reciprocity rather than energetic extraction. You begin to attract people who contribute to your vitality rather than depleting it, who honor your light rather than consuming it, learning to generate your own energy rather than seeking it through giving to others represents a fundamental shift in your relationship with empathy. Instead of using your gift to feel needed, you begin to use it to feel connected to your own inner wisdom, to the natural world, to sources of nourishment that replenish rather than drain your resources. The integration of your shadow, those aspects of yourself that have enabled the consumption, is essential for lasting change. You must acknowledge the parts of you that have found identity in being needed, safety in being useful, worth in being depleted. These shadow aspects require compassion and conscious integration rather than judgment or rejection. As your energy stabilizes within healthier boundaries, you discover capacities that were previously unavailable due to chronic depletion. Your creativity flows more freely. Your intuition becomes more accurate. Your physical vitality increases. You realize that what you thought was your natural state of fatigue was actually the result of systematic energy drainage. The transformation of your empathic gift from a source of depletion to a tool of conscious service represents one of the most profound evolutions possible for the human psyche. Your sensitivity becomes discerning. Your compassion becomes wise. Your light becomes sustainable. You learn to offer your gifts from fullness rather than emptiness, from choice rather than compulsion. Your relationships undergo a natural purification as you establish energetic sovereignty. Those connections based on mutual respect and genuine care deepen and flourish, while those built on consumption naturally dissolve. This process, while sometimes painful, creates space for the authentic intimacy that was impossible within the dynamics of energetic imbalance. The dreams that once warned of consumption begin to show scenes of abundance, overflowing cups that never empty, lights that burn brighter when shared, gardens that grow more beautiful when tended by multiple caring hands. These images reflect the possibility of relationships where energy is generated through connection rather than extracted through contact. Learning to say no without guilt, to witness pain without absorbing it, to offer help without depleting yourself. These become the hallmarks of mature empathy. Your gift evolves from an unconscious reflex into a conscious choice, from a source of suffering into a tool of service, from a vulnerability to be exploited into a strength to be shared wisely. The ultimate realization is that protecting your light serves not only your own well-being, but the highest good of all involved. When you refuse to enable others' energetic dependency, you create opportunities for them to develop their own connection to inner resources. Your boundaries become invitations for others to discover their own light, rather than continuing to borrow yours. In the end, the choice is yours. Will you continue to serve as an unconscious source of nourishment for those too spiritually lazy to feed themselves? Or will you reclaim your role as a conscious bearer of light, sharing your gifts only with those who approach with reverence rather than hunger? Your answer to this question will determine not only the quality of your remaining years, but the legacy you leave for other empaths who struggle in the darkness of unconscious consumption. Remember this: your light was never meant to be food for others' darkness. It was meant to be a beacon that guides them toward discovering their own illumination. Guard it well, share it wisely, and let it serve the highest purpose for which it was given, the conscious evolution of human consciousness itself.